Over the course of Ninjago's lifespan, there's been a lot of episodes, about 260 of them. I should know. But the fact is, with all those episodes, you have to expect there to be some good ones and there to be some bad ones. Because if you were able to produce that many episodes, all of them being 10 out of 10, I would be thoroughly surprised. But I wanted to know what the most popular episode was when it came to the show itself. So I asked you guys, albeit a long time ago, what your favourite episode was. And I'm going to be honest, I was not expecting the answer that I got. Or more specifically, answers, because this is by far one of the biggest lists I've ever gotten. Because if you're not aware, I've done this a couple times now, where I've asked you guys for your opinion on the show, and I have gone through it and shown the answers accordingly. And like I said, this time, it is what the most popular episode of Ninjago that it actually has. So, let me not waste any more of your time, and let's talk about what the most popular is. Now, in the absolute simplest way possible, there were so many episodes that were only just mentioned once, and I'm going to do my best to show off as many comments as I can throughout the course of the video. I can't talk about all of them, because ultimately I'll be here for a very long time, but so many of you had these deep-seated reasons as to why you love these specific episodes, and honestly, I can't help but love absolutely every single comment. So, I'm going to do my best and show as many as I can, whilst also talking about some highlights. But simply put, there were just so many instances of episodes just being mentioned one-off. But the fact is that every single episode that has been mentioned just once had such a deep-seated and compassionate reason behind it. And honestly, I can't help but mention every single one. So, I'm sorry if the comment isn't directly on screen, but I promise you I read through it. But for example, and this is literally me reading off of my list, one-off was mentioned: TikTok, the Shattered Dragon, Oni and the Dragon, the Return of the Overlord, the Son of Lily, the Rise of Kalmar, Saving Faith, How to Build a Dragon, The Royal Blacksmiths, Crossroad Carnival, Out of the Fire and Into the Boiling Sea, Game Over, Ninja Ball Run, Fugitives from Madness, The Merge, Wishmasters, The Void, Ending, Ninjago Confidential, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, Never Trust a Snake, The Real Fall, The Spectral Lands, Way of the Ninja, The Surge, Curse World, Hands of Time, and Home. There are so many different episodes that were mentioned here, and I really do wish I was able to talk about every single one of them. But the fact is that this would take too long, so hopefully I got as many in here as possible. All of these episodes, some of them are just simply, this episode is amazing, and I truly understand that. But there are other mentions of these episodes because of how the character truly resonated with someone, or how the person truly connected with the episode in some way, or it's where they started out in Ninjago. And for all those reasons, they completely deserve to be up there with some of the greatest episodes that have existed. Because ultimately, that is that episode for someone, and everyone ultimately has that for an episode. So, I love the fact there's so many comments here talk about how this episode or this moment in the episode truly did connect with them, and I think that is honestly the pride of Ninjago, the joy of the show in of itself, the fact that a single episode can truly connect with someone on that much of a personal level. So honestly, I love the fact that every single one of these episodes truly did this for someone, and honestly, all these episodes are fantastic. I mean, personally speaking, I was going to say this till the end, but the Son of Lily, to me, in my opinion, is one of the best episodes we've ever gotten, and I am actually planning on doing a video on why that is the case, but that was only mentioned once. So, obviously, I agree with someone in this list, so there is that at the very least. But the fact is that so many of these episodes also are one of my favorites for a reason. I love TikTok. I love Ninja Ball Run for a lot of really weird reasons. The Merge is fantastic. I think the Endings episode in Season 10 is absolutely stellar. So, even though they only got mentioned once, it truly does show that the fact they were mentioned truly means that they have to be one of the greatest for a reason. But to move on to the episodes that got mentioned in multiple instances, there were a fair few that did get mentioned twice, and I do think all of them do also deserve it for the exact same reason. We got a lot of instances of maybe the first episode or the last episode being mentioned, which is completely valid. There were a couple in the middle, for example, the Temple on Haunted Hill was mentioned twice, which is a fairly good one. Also, the Green Ninja was mentioned twice, for very valid reasons as well. But honestly, every single episode that got mentioned twice, I definitely understand why it's there. I mean, for example, Season 6, Episode 4, Misfortunes Rising was actually mentioned twice, and Ant One Plays even said that it was their favourite episode because they really liked how Jay's character was during the episode. The reveal of him being adopted, and the first time watching he was on the edge of his seat just hoping Jay wouldn't make any bad wishes, just because he was desperate to get back with Nia. The action in the second half of the episode was also fun, and the scene of Kai getting wished away was amazing. And honestly, that is a completely valid reason. It has everything you want in an episode. Character beats, interesting villain moments, interesting fight scenes. It has everything that you want in an episode, so it makes sense for it to be a favourite. Another episode mentioned twice was The Last Resort, and Mr. Prager also emphasizes that fact. Like he said, the name, the tensions, the battle, it's amazing. Jay versus the Blue and Nia versus Dong Shak was really good fights. The tension is in the air. Amazing episode in an amazing season. And again, exactly that, has cool character moments, because not even mentioned here, for example, the end when Nia gets Jay out of there and sacrifices herself and says to save her. I mean, it's an amazing moment, and an amazing episode like you said. Elements of Betrayal was even mentioned twice, which is nice to see Dragon's Rising getting the love that it deserves. And honestly, Elements of Betrayal is also just another fantastic episode, so it's nice to see that one there. And speaking of more recent episodes, the Turn of the Tide was also mentioned twice, of course being the episode where Nia ultimately makes the sacrifice play, and I have to say, it's another very valid episode to have in this section. And how could I not mention the Green Ninja? Honestly, it was a little lower than I was expecting, but the fact is, it's definitely still there for a very valid reason. For example, NXT Vegito, I believe I got your name correct there, but you said it was your favourite episode because Kai's true potential was pure gold. The realization that he isn't meant to be the Green Ninja is something so good and real. It was the best decision for him to not be the Green Ninja. And honestly, that is completely valid, to be honest, and I don't think there's any better way to put it. The fact that Kai's whole arc was realizing that it's not to be the Green Ninja but to protect him, I think was honestly huge. And like I said, there was more in the 2 section. For example, Winds of Change was there, Grave Danger was mentioned, and obviously they're all there for very valid reasons, and I should have a couple of the reasons up now, but the fact is that ultimately the 2 section was definitely a lot smaller, but still had a fair old amount of episodes, and honestly, they're all there for a very valid reason. So thank you everyone who has commented these ones, and let's talk about the ones that were mentioned 3 times. There were 5 episodes in this section, and honestly, one of them I was a little surprised to see, but I do still understand why it's there. And that was actually the episode Radio Free Ninjago. Honestly, it's not one I think too much about, but now it's been mentioned, I certainly understand it. For example, Not Yara, I believe that's your name, you said it's your favourite because, for one, it doesn't get enough recognition, but also you think it's perfectly paced. The Rise speech at the end always gives you shivers, the stakes are always so high in that episode, and Dareth gets beat up. It was nice to see Lloyd get a small victory as well between all the losses, and honestly, yeah, perfect reasoning. Like you said, the whole infiltration to get the speech out arc, I do think that was very good and honestly very tension built, so I completely understand why this one's here. We also see a couple other little interesting ones. For example, Rising Ninja was in here. For example, Notivori, I believe that's your name, hello? You said it's such a goated episode. The fighting was so cool and Noct was so cold when he was freed. Sets up Season 2 Part 2 amazingly, and seeing Raz's master use his power to move the Shadow Dojo was cool. Overall, an amazing episode. And again, very, very valid reasoning. And apart from that, it was actually just a bunch of season finales. For example, Big Trouble Little Ninjago was mentioned, which again is a very valid one to bring up. The Titanium Ninja was here, which honestly again, I was expecting to be higher, but again it was mentioned, which ultimately is what counts, and again a fantastic one. And Rise of the Spinjitzu Master, which is there any more to say apart from that? I mean, it is the initial final episode of the show, and definitely has one of the biggest climaxes being Golden Lloyd. So I understand every single one of these, and all of them make complete sense to me. But that's actually where we see the end of multiple episodes getting the same amount of votes. So we have 4 episodes left, and all of them have a unique amount. So these are, according to the community, the top 4 episodes, or my community specifically, but my community is the best. But number 4, coming in with 4 votes, is the episode True Potential, which honestly does make complete sense. It's one of the most emotional and dark episodes we've ever gotten in the show. I mean, the line from Garmadon, "I have no sun, in my opinion, is the most gut-wrenching, tension-built line we have ever heard in the show. But let me consult one of the comments. Mr. Donk, official friend of the channel, he's around a lot, hello my friend, you said your favourite episode is probably True Potential. Lloyd's motivations were very realistic, great character work, some good humour, but most importantly, the battle between Garmadon and Lloyd is one of the best scenes in the show, with great action and great emotion, with a beautiful and eerie soundtrack to back it all up. And honestly, you couldn't be any more right, Mr. Donk. I mean, you are completely correct with one of the best scenes in the show. I would make the argument that Garmadon versus Lloyd in the episode is definitively one of the best fight scenes we ever had, and for very good reason, so I'm glad that True Potential has gotten the attention it deserves, and thank you very much, Mr. Donk. The third most popular episode from this comment section was honestly one that I wasn't expecting, but it is actually going to the episode Versus from the Tournament of Elements, and honestly, this one was very surprising to actually see. And even though I wasn't expecting to be so high up, I mean, seeing the reasoning definitely is what makes sense to me. I mean, we do get, for example, Daniel27047, hello my friend, you said Versus, it had everything. 4 brilliant 1v1s, peace between Cole and Jay, you know, this is the episode where that godforsaken love triangle arc ended, and Garmadon being the absolute GOAT. Everything. And honestly, again, can't be more right. I mean, Cole versus Jay is a very emotional fight, and seeing them work together in the very end is fantastic, and every other 1v1 we get to see is also absolutely stellar. So, honestly, it makes complete sense to do this and have it so high up. So thank you very much for pointing this episode out, guys. But even though that was the bronze medal, let's actually talk about the silver medal. And honestly, this is one that I was expecting through and through, so let's just get this one out the way. And to put it simply, it is Game of Masks. I mean, it does have absolutely everything you want. I mean, it has all the suspense between Lloyd and Harumi, which I think is absolutely amazing. Lloyd's realization and the fight between the two is absolutely stellar. I love it so much. I mean, you also then have the stuff with the ninja and the Sons of Garmadon, which is also amazing. I mean, the episode does just have all the emotion and all the tension that you do want. And there are actually two comments next to each other that have the exact same opinion. I mean, Star Production says, I love the choreography for the fight between Harumi and Lloyd, and the realization Lloyd has that Harumi's the quiet one, which can't put it any better. And Snake Jaguar Nerd says he loves the suspense with Harumi being the quiet one. The scene between Lloyd and Harumi never fails to punch me in the gut. Just the writing overall is fantastic. And like I said, that is it. You know, the fact that this episode has that much suspense and that much tension really does show how amazing it truly is. So, completely valid in every way, shape and form. You just can't complain when a Ninjago episode has the emotional beats that you want. And honestly, I really do think it is one of the proof that Ninjago, when it wants that emotion, when it wants that gritty feel, I mean, the Oni trilogy definitely did it best. It can truly deliver on that fact. But Game of Masks very rightfully deserved the silver medal. But there is one more episode that exists that got more votes than that, being 9. So, which one is it? And it's ironic that it got 9 votes because it's coming from season 9, and that is, of course, Green Destiny. I mean, what else is there to say? The ninja reunite after so long, they fight off against Garmadon and the Colossus, some amazing scenes, Lloyd getting his powers back. I mean, what more is there to truly say? I mean, Ninjaru66 said, possibly Green Destiny. It's a great conclusion to the 9th season, which rounds off Lloyd's arc in a nice bow as he uses the teachings of his father Garmadon to beat the new resurrected version and become the Green Ninja once again. It also has a great fight scene with Wu and Garmadon and a subplot where the ninja tries to take down the Sons of Garmadon's super weapon. Of course, there are a lot of other great episodes, but if this question came up on a different day, I may have answered differently. But honestly, that is honestly the point above all else. I mean, saying what your favourite episode is truly difficult. It changes for me as well. But, like you said, this is definitely one that does come up. Another example on why official Ninjago Central. Hello, my friend. You said definitely Green Destiny by miles for me. The countless themes it employs, the emotions, the characters, the cinematography. It's for sure my favourite episode of all time. Garmadon versus Lloyd on top of Borg's tower, fighting out with a callback to the Art of the Silent Fist was just spectacular. spectacular. Furthermore, the way the episode concludes, not on a victory, but rather a victory at what costs. Considering the only word being teased word for the following season just made this episode the greatest I've ever seen. Definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. And I mean, how else could you really put it? That is the perfect definition on how good this episode truly is. But without a doubt, I am not surprised that Green Destiny took the top mark. I mean, I based the entire thumbnail around it, and ultimately it is what I expected. Because, for very valid reasons, it is a fantastic episode. But every single episode that has been mentioned in this episode honestly could be the top for any sort of reason. Because even though some of them only got one vote, it still is proof that at a larger scale, it truly could have taken the top mark if it truly wanted to. But this is where I'm going to show you the final list. This is the list that I have made in accordance with the actual comment section. And thank you to absolutely everyone who commented on this post. I absolutely love these community videos. If you guys want more of these, please let me know. Because I am tempted to see what the results look like when I flip the question on its head and ask for your least favorite one. So if you do want to see that, definitely let me know. But as for me personally, what would I have answered with? I mean, I did mention before, The Son of Lily is definitely up there for me, but honestly, there are so many episodes on this list that I also agree with. I mean, I love Rising Ninja, I love Green Destiny, Game of Masks is amazing, I love The Merge, Curse World's amazing, I really like The Spectral Lands, that's another great one. All of these episodes, I definitely have an argument for. So, honestly, I'm just glad that every single episode could have been on this list, because ultimately, it is someone's favourite. And that is the message I want to leave off on. I do think, to an extent, any episode that has ever existed on this show could have been on this list, because it's always going to be the favourite to someone for some particular reason. I mean, maybe apart from the Kaiju Protocol. But this is where I'm going to pass it off to you guys. Do you agree with the episodes that are on this list? Is there one that wasn't on this list that you feel like should have been mentioned? Is there a reason you want to bring up already to one of these episodes that were on the list? Do you want to show a new perspective on it? Do you maybe want to counter one of the comments you've seen today? Is there one of the episodes on here that you adamantly disagree with? I would love to know. But ultimately, like I said, this is the time where I would like to pass it off to you all, and I would love to see what you guys think when it comes to this amazing show that we all love. But that is about it for today, you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, because like I said, I love these community driven videos. They're some of the amazing videos that I get to make, and honestly, these comment sections are beyond the most fun I get to read through, because I love hearing your guys' opinions, because ultimately it is the joy of this show, seeing how people take to the show, see how people view the show. It truly is what fascinates me, and is one of the main driving forces for this very channel itself. But like I said, thank you very much for watching, and take care. Okay, bye!